All right, let's dive right into this epic explainer because today we're tracing the massive 6-book saga of Arthur Pendragon and the Knights of Avalon. Now, if you've been following this incredible LitRPG phenomenon, you already know it's not just your standard swords and sorcery tale. No, this is all about surviving a brutal, unforgiving, rule-bound system. So we are going to break down everything that's happened, tracking the journey from that very first desperate login on Earth all the way up to the breathtaking, high-stakes, mythic realms of Book 6.
Here is our quest log for this explainer. We'll kick things off with the rules of Avalon, venture into the untiered wilds, build the Sovereign Citadel, survive the Empyrean Expanse, and finally, unlock the mythic realms.
Section 1. The Rules of Avalon. Okay, before we get into the lore, we really need to understand how this universe actually works. Avalon operates as this sort of cosmic scaffolding. It draws heavy inspiration from classic tabletop RPG mechanics, specifically the D20 system, and weaves those rules directly into the fabric of reality itself. And the coolest part? Every single player possesses one unique thing. It's a specific trait that entirely shapes their personal narrative and how they bend the world's systemic rules. So remember, we're not just looking at a virtual reality simulation here. It is a literal, full-immersion virtual reality resurrection engine. Every single stat, every skill point, it actually matters.
And those tabletop mechanics form the rock-solid foundation of Avalon's progression system. If a guild wants to ascend to a higher, way more dangerous tier, they have to follow 3 strict rules. You can't just sit around grinding forever in a safe zone. First up, a character has got to hit the absolute maximum level cap for their current tier. Number 2, the party must defeat a massive world boss or clear a server-altering raid. And finally, step 3, a guildmaster with a sovereign class has to manually trigger the ascension. When that happens, boom, the entire city, walls, NPCs, the whole shebang, violently teleports into a higher, significantly deadlier realm.
Section 2. The Untiered Wilds. Picture the mysterious, gritty atmosphere of the early game. When Arthur, his wife Gwinn, and their vanguard of friends first logged in, they were guided by an ancient magical compass, completely bypassing the standard, safe starting cities. They plunged straight into the unknown. And let me tell you, there were absolutely no golden castles waiting for them. It was just smog, mud, and a completely desperate fight for survival, where every rusted blade and scrap of food was a matter of life and death.
Following their path, you can map out exactly how this group of Level 1 survivors managed to pull this off. Starting from the isolated tutorial zone of Earth, they literally plunged right into the sewers of the old world, the drains of Motura. Think about that for a second. But by surviving this brutal 5-level Fomorian dungeon, they secured their very first real foothold in Avalon. They claimed an NPC farming settlement known as Awen-Toka.
Section 3. Forging the Sovereign Citadel.
Now this is where the glow-up happens. The sheer contrast here is staggering. We go from the crude iron gear of a Rank 1 muddy village straight to the awe-inspiring architecture of a Rank 3 sovereign capital. Through absolutely relentless resource gathering, raiding Fomorian logging camps, and pouring all that wealth directly into the anvil of the wilds, the Round Table managed to force their muddy settlement to evolve. It transformed into this breathtaking metropolis of polished obsidian and white marble, Camelot.
But, as you probably guessed, the system doesn't just hand you a shiny new capital for free. Upgrading your city triggers a brutal, punishing mechanic known as a paradigm shift. Basically, it's a violent system compilation. The system actively tests your claim to the territory. So, while Camelot's code was actually upgrading, Arthur and his guild had to stand their ground and physically repel waves of Fomorian corruption, proving they had the strength to hold the majestic city they were building.
And the stakes just keep getting higher. Eventually, Arthur had to face the usurper, Mordred. Defeating Mordred's capital of Cóir to end his reign of terror didn't just drop some epic loot, it triggered what's called a mythic entanglement. The system literally bound King Arthur and High King Mordred together, giving both kings a permanent, unhealable mortal wound. Talk about a rivalry. It is a constant burning reminder of their hatred that carries across every single tier they ascend to. Pushing past that, these massive upgrades allowed the guild to finally break into Tier 1, the freezing silver marches. And up here, they didn't just survive, they really started to innovate. I mean, they delved into the 10-floor Cairngorm mega dungeon, and then, get this, they built a massive 800-foot Magitek airship named the Saratoga. They used it to completely level Castle Argent, but naturally destroying the castle birthed a necrotic singularity. This forced a fully assembled 30-man roster to survive a grueling 20-floor abyssal raid, the Necropolis of Argent, just so they could escape to the next realm.
Section 4. The Empyrean Expanse.
Escaping the abyss drops them into the lush paradise of Tier 2, and this sparked some truly explosive kingdom building. Under the protection of an impenetrable 30-day golden dome, known as the Aegis of the New Dawn, Camelot's population swelled to a staggering 200,000 refugees. That is a massive scale-up. They absorbed crafting guilds, they tamed Griffin cavalry, and they conquered the Grand Foundry of the Sun to start mass-producing epic gear for all those people.
But of course, safety is always an illusion in Avalon, which brings us to the absolutely terrifying LitRPG mechanic of true permadeath. In the Ashen Steppes, Mordred managed to acquire the Bleeding Lance. Now this isn't just a heavy-hitting weapon that drains HP. Oh no, it literally executes a system script that results in permanent account deletion. It's a total wipe mechanic threatened by Mordred's Blood Iron Horde. Game over, for real.
To face a threat of that magnitude, Arthur had to unite with his past-life brothers to form the Empyrean Coalition. By resonating with the animus of historical legends, we're talking Leonidas of Sparta and Iskandar the Great, Arthur forged an unstoppable alliance. And to outlevel Mordred's approaching army, these allied commanders had to power level through the 31-floor Tartarus Crucible, literally fighting their way through hell itself to defeat the first fallen, Lucifer.
Section 5. Dawn of Mythic Realms.
It is absolutely wild to look back at the beginning. We're talking going from fighting over literal scraps of crude Fomorian iron in Book 1 to commanding Magitek air armadas and wielding Tier 3.5 divine artifacts in Book 6. The progression system has unlocked a reality where Arthur's Excalibur can conceptually sever physical barriers, and the guild commands a massive clockwork Aether Drake cavalry.
And to protect all those artifacts, Camelot has evolved into the continent-spanning Empyrean Empire, which now sits on a floating citadel. They're preparing to face the colossal 8th Pantheon, and they are armed to the teeth. They've got a diamond and star metal wall of Avalon, 12 Empyrean Worldbreaker cannons. I mean, they are no longer just a guild. They are a full-blown Tier 3.5 mythic kingdom.
But as Merlin ominously warns, Mordred must be defeated before he reaches the apex tier. Because if he gets there, he achieves unstoppable true godhood. The system's code becomes absolute truth in Tier 5. If Mordred crosses that threshold with all his hatred, he cannot be unmade. His dark code will be woven into the fabric of Animus, and he will literally burn Camelot for eternity. Which leaves us with one chilling final question. As the War of the Gods begins, can Arthur and the Round Table slay a true immortal in Tier 4 before the system permanently unwrites Camelot? Will the Knights of Avalon survive the coming ascension, or will the usurper win? The code is written, the raid is set, and the true endgame is finally here. What a phenomenal ride through this universe. I really hope this explainer helped you visualize the incredible mechanics and the deep lore driving this saga. So keep your shield walls tight, and I will catch you next time.